What's up, everyone? I have something a little bit different for you today. And for years I played StarCraft and was not good enough to ever show off my replays. And it took me a couple years of playing before I casted even one of my own matches. And I'm in a similar scenario with Counter-Strike Go, where I just started playing seriously a few months ago and always been pretty bad. So this is a commentary over a comp match that I had. And the observing is going to be pretty bad because I frankly do not really know how to use the user interface quite yet exactly. So this is Nuke, considered a CT-sided map. And by the way, for the StarCraft fans, don't worry, these videos are in addition to the StarCraft videos. Whenever I do a baseball or non-StarCraft video, it doesn't take place of what would have been a StarCraft video, so don't get salty. Didn't get any kills there, but I fragged the guys. They tried to make a vent play and it really screwed up their push. I am queued with one guy in this game, Hazard, just some random that I met, and I'm going to try to play on top of hut here. And Hazard picks up an opening kill. So after a couple people get picked off, I'm just going to move into a defensive location and play by where we have bomb. And just try to work with my team and try to trade people whenever they rush into the CT site A to get the bomb. Now A on this map is of course the upper site and B is the one directly beneath it. On Nuke, it's the map where callouts matter the most because you can deduce the least amount of information from looking at the minimap. Simply put, the minimap does not give you that much information when everything has multiple stories. So another pretty easy win. But things are going to pick up here, I assure you. So I'm queued with this Hazard guy, and this is a Silver League match for the record, but I'm not smurfing, I'm not actually like Master Guardian bashing Silver kids. I'm legitimately a Silver kid myself. We're going to see some Silver League mistakes at some point, but in this game, this is one of these games where I really hard carried and did very well, so you're not going to be seeing as many mistakes as usual. Although at some point I'm sure my silverness will be on full display. So I'm just basically doing, as far as observing goes, and there we see silver maneuver, we're just going to watch my point of view. I'm not going to skip around because this is really a gameplay all about me. It is my commentary after all. So they take the B site, and the team I have is not very good. This hentai guy like mumbles a lot. Just one of these weebs who can't really project his voice at all. I'm going to try to retake the B site here. Just rush right the fuck in and get earholed from radio. And my ally is going to shoot me in the back of the head and they'll clean us up. So you might be saying to yourself, why the fuck did he cast this garbage game? Nothing has happened in 3 rounds. He's just died once. Believe me, things are going to get fucking ridiculous later on. And I just wanted to go from the beginning to end and sort of tell it as though it was a story. So the hentai guy is not terrible, but he kind of mumbles and he's not really talented. And Hazard is decent. He was just some guy that I met in a public game, and he's the only one I'm queued with. D is sort of like this conceited guy who thinks he's really hot shit, and is just an okay, decent player. And hilariously, this Hititis guy is a total squeaker, like one of these 11-year-old Xbox Live type kids, as you see D get picked off there for first blood. And I actually like it when squeakers and girls are able to use their mic as pick off a guy going into vent, and I'm always very diligent about giving callouts. And we see a 2v4 scenario as Hazard and I are trying to hold the bomb as I pick off another in the sort of one-way smoke as they approach from mini. Someone called vent, so I spray into it a bit. And this is such an obnoxious position as Hazard picks up a guy that was wounded, and I can hear him over here on my right. And Hazard picks it up. So I'm not going to rewind it because the video is going to be long enough as it is and everyone could see it, but there's a 2v4 there, and whenever you can isolate the bomb and use a smoke to your advantage, that's a great way that you're going to be able to sort of win scenarios like that, as opposed to just if you fucking hold normal angles and let them come at you without utility. So I'm no expert, but I'm just trying to voice out some tips that like the absolute newbie players should know. This isn't going to be anything groundbreaking like a really good veteran player needs to hear. This isn't like StarCraft where I'm master's level and have a bunch of tricks up my sleeve and 10 years of experience watching and playing the game. And here I choke, but I'm very diligent about giving calls, and I call where they are so my team can start to rotate. And usually on T side, I try to call the strats and play a hard entry style and really get the bomb down. And I get shot in the back there. On CT, there's really no reason to push, even if you know where they are. I was kind of worried because I knew that we didn't have any ramp control, and I just honestly was like, well, I have to take a fight since we're obviously going to use the B site. And Hazard gets wasted there. And this guy's looking heaven. And he sprays through the smoke and kills him. So I remember like that happened early on in the game, and I was like giving D a lot of credit, and he didn't do a whole lot after this. Like I said, the observing is not going to be that good. But this is me, John Rocker, obviously. Even though I've been playing Hut, I really like to play outside with the op on this map and peek blue box. And if I'm on T side, I'll rush to blue box and peek the garage. It's one of my favorite sort of sniper pre-fire battles in all of CS as far as maps go. So there, the squeaker calls for me to molly that, and I do. Not to go full Riot Games here, but if you do have like an 11-year-old kid on your team who is trying and like using his mic efficiently and trying to give call-outs, like, be nice to him and encourage him. As you see a guy waltz in there, and he was looking at the old spot, Hut. If you noticed, he looked initially above Hut where I can't before, and I pick off another there, so there's 2 left, and I waste him. So now it's a 1v1, but I'm really low, and I'm going to hide in the corner. He knows where I am because of the sound cues, and he gets me. So I fail the clutch there, and that's just the freaking worst. Whenever it's a big 1v4 like that, and you get the first 3 and wound the 4th, but don't get it. But like I was saying, if you do get a squeaker on your team that uses his mic efficiently, or a girl, like, you should encourage these people, because as CS players, the game is already hard enough whenever you're solo queuing and people don't use their mics, whether they're hiding in a Discord dick click together, or they just don't have a mic for whatever reason, even though it's like you can get one for $20, which is just the most ridiculous thing in the world to me. Almost always when someone says they don't have a mic, what they really mean is they just don't want to use it. So if someone is using a mic, don't be like, oh, a girl, or like, oh, how old are you, dude? Like, just pretend like they're fucking as deep voiced as me. So I'm gonna drop down to vent here. I know that our ramp play has been a little bit weak and inconsistent, and we kept having a problem with our ramp players just rotating off of ramp for no fucking reason, and just not calling it either. And I'm left alone 1v5. But I have correctly predicted where they're going to take the bomb, ramp side. Unfortunately, he is not going to push into my ramp. I do kill one. Crosshair placement, super important in CS. The headshot is just everything in this game. As someone who played Call of Duty for so long, you just develop so many bad habits playing that joke of a game, where basically the best thing to do is spray up the belly, because I get a nice kill there on a camper, and mow down the guy on Hut. And almost 7 HP left. Then there would have been one more guy. But not bad for a 1v5. You hurt their money a little bit. The economy in this game is something that it took me a very long time to understand. The 2 most important factors being how slow your money was to build a CT compared to T. The fact that submachine guns other than the P90 give a money bonus, and just how money bonus worked in general. And the concept of everyone buys or nobody buys. You shouldn't be having like 2 people get an M4 while 3 people can't afford to get anything. These are basic concepts that a lot of people who played this game know, but in Silver League you see these mistakes all the time. And I went to ramp this round because we were getting railroaded at ramp, and I had a save, so it's obviously a bad move. I'm like calling, I'm screaming at this guy where he is, because he pushed all the way up into mini, and let's see what he does. He gets wasted. So that was a relatively uneventful retake attempt. Now at this point in the game, I'm just going to call him Little Man, because that's what I called him in the game, because obviously his name is impossible to pronounce. It's just a disaster. It's a complete mess of consonants. And at one point he was like, "I'll tell you guys how to pronounce my name, it's Haidasai." We're like, how are we supposed to know that? Because people were just like, didn't know what to call him. Can't have a pseudonym where people can't even pronounce it. Like this weeb who has a bunch of presumably Japanese characters. As I get wasted saving there, just got completely surprised bitched. Oh, and this is the sort of stuff that hurts your soul. Is the guy buying the R8, the joke weapon, when the Deagle is actually good, and just fucking doing that. Like, yeah, it's the R8. It's garbage. So finally we're going to get some op action, as I'm currently top fragging tied with Hazard. And the key here is to just set up at blue box before they get there, because if they come outside and you get them first picked, it's very hard for them to execute an outside push. But the enemy team is continuing to do a ramp-centric focused play because our ramp player is so stupid and so inconsistent. He gets one there. And I hear like, oh, they're going ramp again, like our ramp player is calling, like there's more, so I'm just going to try to get to ramp and get a couple. Waste one for fun. And then I hear another guy, I kind of assume, boom, John Rocker. Absolutely annihilated. So where's the final guy? Dicking around in vents like an idiot. Not a lot of people will come from under to ramp, so that's a decent strategy if you're in like a weird 1v2 retake like this. Oftentimes, whenever you get this late in a round on Nuke, they're not going to be coming from the T side, they're going to be coming from somewhere else on the map. So that's why I am watching this left side hell part. And we get mollied here, and my idiot teammate gets wasted, and thankfully I smoke the guy a second before the fire kills me and we win the round. But Hazard, this was like my second game ever with him, so I didn't really have like a rapport with him yet. And notice how broke our team is here after getting wiped on CT. He was just playing like a complete cretin and like not holding any angle, just walking around off in the open. He should have been watching either ramp or that T-side entrance, by vending machine it's called. So I have to go with the M4 here, and I waste the guy at vent, kill a guy squeak as well. You can pretty much deduce it was a vent call if two people are there that early in the round. And another one was there, creeping unfortunately for me. It's very common whenever you see 3 people or more, or I guess not or more, but if 2 or more go squeaky, one of 2 things will probably happen. People will be going hut in conjunction with it, or people will be going outside to mini. Just see a B plant here. I think that holding outside on this map is just so important as we see a frag grenade dropped in the vents. And thankfully, they're going to 2v1 him out. In that moment, I remember yelling like, peek, 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 help, help. Because I wanted them to peek together. Oftentimes, the randoms don't trust each other. And they'll just sort of like bait each other and be selfish. So, if you can help them know, yeah, your ally's actually fighting, step in and help, that's a good thing. So at this point I am steadily top fragging with 15 as Hazard has remained at 9. And this little M4 is sort of an homage to just StarCraft 2. It's a very Team Liquid-esque M4. It's got the teal color scheme. weird as I see a Silver League play there to miss the ladder. Unfortunately, people, like, if you ask a normie esports fan now, like Team Liquid, they're gonna think like the perennial 4th place League of Legends team and the CS team that had Simple on it for a while. But for us StarCraft fans, of course, Team Liquid is the perennial StarCraft 2 forum, and was in the early 2000s. I find the sort of format of the website a bit archaic and the user interface hard to use, to be frank, but for an old school community like that, it's great for what it was. I'm going to drop down into Vince here, as we are just getting railroaded at B over and over, and oftentimes when you annihilate someone at a certain site, really embarrass them badly, you can predict that they're going to be going to the other site in the next round a lot of the time. Or for instance, if you're holding outside and slam everyone very badly, then you can sort of smile and think to yourself, well, they might not want to go outside again. There's one left. I'm just going to patiently anchor the site. The guy's outside. He might save his op. It's hard to say. It is Silver League after all. One thing about CS in general is that whenever you are just sort of communicating and calling in game, even if you're not calling strats or in-game leading and you're just communicating in general, having everyone on the same page, even if it's not necessarily like the absolute peak strategy, is better than having people being disjointed. I sort of laugh sometimes when I'll just suggest like, hey, we want to rush B here on T side, and some people sort of get ornery and like, oh, what are you, like the master? And it's like, well, what do you suggest? Like everyone just holds just silence and we just fucking all randomly run in 5 different directions. So you want to communicate in this game, and I'm not saying you have to be authoritarian, but you simply want to inform your allies of what you're doing. Like at the beginning of every round, usually I'm calling out what side I'm going to play and what I'm going to watch. As we see here, I'm going to be playing Heaven, spray the guy down that walks in. This is hilarious. They don't see me Heaven, they're focused on the other guys up Heaven, and from above I just rain down terror with grenades, and I have to switch to the sidearm there as I ran a little bit out of gun juice. And another flash here is going to be really obnoxious and halt the push, so that is pretty much the textbook on how to fuck up a push with utility. As the beginning of the round is absolutely brutal if whenever you start your rush strategy, half of the people get segmented with a molly. And the squeaker here, the Hitissus guy, little man, is perpetually asking people to give him AKs on CT side. So anytime we went around, he's like, grab an AK, grab an AK, it's my best gun, I can't use anything else. And I was explaining to him, dude, like, you have to be able to at least try to be decent with the M4. You're not always going to be able to have the fucking AK in a game where half of the rounds are CT side. In general, on Nuke, part of what makes this a good CT-sided map is these positions that you see me playing on top of Hut and Heaven. These are very annoying to deal with. If you always have a guy Heaven somewhere, not always up top by the ladder in Heaven, but just up top on the ledge somewhere, and then you have a guy playing on the Hut, it's an absolute bitch to entry this site. And we saw a few rounds ago, after I had been, we see me dodge a shot there, I just lambasted them from Hut over and over, and then I played sort of an off angle on that white silo, and the guy looked immediately up into Hut when he entered the site. Smoked Mini, and unfortunately for me, a guy rushes me down. This guy just absolutely clueless. He was at least using his mic and trying, but he's, you know, obviously really young and really bad. And here, like, he clearly knows, like, I'm supposed to be cautious and check, but I just noticed he's, like, just sort of aiming at nothing, and then he realizes, oh shit, it's B. That's the thing about Nuke, you're always going to have a couple moments where if not everyone is communicating ideally, you're going to just have your head up your ass, and a smoke comes out. And at this point, he's just completely flummoxed. Just has no clue. I mean, what in the hell even is this? He's like, oh, it's not B. Yeah. I mean, these are the sort of allies that you deal with in solo queue. I mean, look at that. He's like examining the wall like there's a poster on it. Just brutal. The hentai guy is gonna come in and out of the game. Connection issues, you know, that sort of shit. And this is something annoying that happens in pub games where people are going AFK or they have their head in their ass. The buy gets fucked up and you're late to the site. So here I have to play this weird off angle because I was trying to buy for my allies who just ended up running away anyway. Thankfully that guy picked up my 5.7, I think. 5.7's actually a pretty damn good pistol as I spray down a guy who was looking back over here. So I'm sort of checking around like, well, if he was looking back over there, like there has to be a guy playing around outside. And there I had caught with my hand in my pants, call that guy out, and D just gets fucking embarrassed. 1v3 situation here, and if we hit the tab key we can see that, yeah, it's the last round, so I'm about to whip my dick out on these fools, 2 of whom have ops, 1 has an AK, 1 tries to jump peek, he gets wasted for fun. And oh my lordy lord, that's hilarious. 23 kills at the half for your boy J-Rock. Know what I'm saying? 2 guys in the single digits, and my boy Hazard barely holding his own at positive. Sometimes in CS, you play with the team, and there's like one other decent guy on the team giving callouts, and even if he's not that talented, you add him as a friend just so you have at least one other guy in the team who's going to use his fucking microphone. And that's the case with Hazard and I. This is not a star player or like a pub star. This is merely just some guy I found who could find his fucking push to talk button. Looks like a ramp rush is going to be called here as I get clipped. One of them is playing deep ramp, one of them is playing hell, as we can see on the map. Waste the first guy, I know where the other is. Blitz him as well, and I'm just calling, BBB, everyone drop down into sight. Come down into sight. Because on Nuke, you have to consider that, just like all maps that are considered CT-sided, once you get the bomb down, you get to play post-plant, and you sort of become the CTs on T side, and that allows you to execute strategies that are akin to playing on CT, where the enemy team has to attack into you, and you get to hold the good angles. And here, one of them is ramp, and I know it's 2v5, so I'm in a position where I don't really want to... Relax, Oscar, I just got a new puppy. But I'm not in a situation where I want to take extended peeking engagements. So I just wanted to pop out, draw the guy's aggro, and then hide. I will be right back, one of my dogs is out. Well, I have come back, and it looks as though it is already 3v5. 2v3 rather now. And a guy is mini looking at Squeaky. I'm going to tap at his head, fail miserably, and try to just molly it off. And unfortunately for me, I'm going to get Zerg rushed by the whole fucking team, and my god, a double pistol. As this is one of those games where everything goes right. Like, you hit the lucky shots, the other players do stupid things, and you play well. It's sort of like the perfect storm. Because, like, that clutch on that final CT round and that fucking pistol play, you're just like, Jesus Christ, how does that ever happen? And one thing that I always used to do, as you see the droopy clutch conclude, is whenever I would try to play my clutches, I would make the mistake of feeling as though I had to do everything super fast. It's the Call of Duty player in me thinking, oh, I've got to go for the clip, I've got to go for the big play where I spray everyone down at once. And I would often make the mistake of, I would get a couple good kills like that initially, but what would happen would be, is I'm sitting there with my dick in my hand, and it was 3v1, now it's 1v1, and I'm like, I gotta get the last guy, and I rush into it and die. Whereas, like, after you do pick up the kills, you want to take your time. And we saw in that scenario, I did take my time, got the reload off, flashed myself in, and that's how I was able to waste that guy so seemingly easily for the final kill of the round as he was fucking flashed. Here my idiot team is just spraying and I'm like looking around like an insane person. Reminds me of that like picture of Donald Trump looking in the sun and he's like holding one hand up. That was like me fucking looking outside of the map. And here again, like I am getting fucking shot from number 1 D. This like stupid cocksucker is spraying into mini, and again I'm like, what the hell is going on? I think there's a guy secret. And the enemy team has had so much trouble aiming, he's fucking wasted. Is again, I'm like getting ragged here by my team, shot in the fucking back. Half of the goddamn damage I've taken this round has been team damage. So this one play that I like to do when I run down secret is oftentimes if you do successfully execute a secret to B play, obviously on Nuke and obviously on any Counter-Strike map, there are going to be people on the opposite site not rotating it, especially in a public game. So I love the molly vents there because people are going to love to make that snap rotation from A vents and come at you. So if you can molly the vents off, you really limit the ability for the enemy to flank you. Really at that point, they're just going to come from secret. So I'm 32 and 9 at this point, ADR of 142, 26% headshot. And one thing that I noticed is I hadn't had these like insane pop-off games where everything went my way. I had had the good game where I top frag and carry, but these ridiculous games where I'm having fucking plays like that pistol double after everyone runs at me. I hadn't had a game like this, so it was sort of fascinating to be like, look at that, like, what in the hell? And here, like, that guy, like, clueless. And I know they're saving, but like, just fucking dry Pete gets surprised by 2 guys and smoke them both. And a guy is emo there, and I call it out, and the idea there was like, oh, I'm gonna molly him and force him out, but he heard the guy ramp, and that's what he was looking up there for. Whenever you watch this game, for the untrained eye, it might look like these guys are like total bots and retarded, and are basically throwing like it's the fucking Shaggy Nuke video, and they are legitimately low-level players, and they are not very intelligent or talented. But a lot of times when people are like looking up at random angles, it's because people were playing there 5 rounds in a row before, or people are coming from sound. And there, we see me choke. And this guy, D, this guy's head is so severely up his own ass that he did that, and basically lost the round on purpose. And whenever, you know, like, if it's 15 to 1 or something, or 14 to 1, like, I don't care if people do stuff like that, but, you know, I get 3 kills in the round and wound the last guy below half, and we lose because some guy tries to be cute. And it's not even like, it wasn't even like he was above him and he like dropped it out and went for the knife and got turned on. Just like, I'm gonna walk halfway. It's just so stupid and selfish. I've noticed a lot of times when you're doing really well, especially if you're shot calling, people will do like dumb, griefy stuff to like get attention, especially if they're not used to having someone like call shots. And this guy's just being, like, you can see that, yes, the enemy team is bad, but my team is also full of insipid animals. I mean, keep in mind, like, I'm literally calling, like, I'm gonna go blue box and peek fucking garage, and we have people stand on top of the fucking blue box like a retard. And great molly by the enemy team to split our push, and I'm frantically calling here, we're split, be careful. And the CTs, thankfully for them, they would have really had the chance to rotate if they were intelligent, so they have one AFK, unfortunately. But here I'm calling, I'm like, I have an op, like, entry the fucking site, and the other guy just, like, sat at single door. Ridiculous. And here we have a grotesque scenario where the bomb was stranded by a moron, so we have to swing back, get the bomb. I sort of think that the guy is secret side, we're not real sure, and keep in mind, we think it's a 2v2, and I know my ally is low, we don't know when it's AFK. So here, one of the best spots for an opera to play is emo, because especially in a 2v1 scenario, the player will oftentimes reveal themselves before they're able to check the spot. So at that point, they can make contact with your ally and you can play off them, which is what we're going to see attempted here. Try to not gargle the flash, and I choked the shot. So the reason I choked the shot is I did, and I think I die on sight here thinking the other one's like right behind him. But it's a golf term I read in John Daly's book called chili dip, which in golf is whenever you use your club and you get under the ball too much and fuck your shot up, like get like way too under it and sort of like pop it up, a baseball equivalent. To chili dip in a... Hey, relax. Come here, Elise. To chili... I got a bunch of dogs, including a new puppy. Why the fuck is this included in the VOD? Are you fisting my asshole right now? Look at this. That was fucking ridiculous. And think of all the disconnects that I've had in this game, and how that, like, I haven't seen that screen. That's just fucking ridiculous. So here, still on T's side, and hopefully we're going to see a coordinated push. Whenever you are pushing as T's, you don't want to have like some slap dick running off to ramp while you're doing an entry strat on A. Speaking of entry strats, guy in heaven is almost always going to be one. He gets smoked in the head for fun. At this point, whenever you open a site with 2 quick picks like that, you're almost always going to get the bomb down and be able to play post plant. Those frags happened in such rapid succession. Oh my lord, get turned on. Those frags happened in such rapid succession that the other team is not going to be able to swing back and fucking get in position quick enough. You're going to be able to take site. My dogs are like children in the sense that whenever one of them gets a treat, I give them all treats at the same time, but inevitably one of them always wants to take it from the other. So because we've been going A a lot, I actually decided to flash myself in because I thought that, look at an idiot teammate just blocking me, my god. And here I get shot through the wall, and whenever I saw where D went, as we can see, the hut is a really good place to play. I was like, oh, is he going to shoot me in the back again? Another bread and butter move of this site whenever you're playing T is you fucking molly that heaven. As soon as you entry the guys off of the side initially, really common rotate spot is going to be heaven. So it's great to have that mollied. It's also the pretty much the biggest power position on the entire map, because it looks right over the site and can see so much. Unfortunately for me, one of them did rage quit, which is sort of funny. But it's going to be harder to get the 40 kills, especially from such a hapless opposition. One more round to go here, and it looks as though the enemy team will send a couple of mini and see what pops. Again, since I'm going to the same spot, I considered flashing it, but one of my chatty Cathy teammates gets fragged over here by ramp, and I know that this bozo is going to push. He's not going to be able to help himself. And this is one thing in Counter-Strike that has really helped me develop a lot, is you see the 39th kill, and now a 1v1. Is stylistically, you can sort of know which players are pushers pretty quick in a game, and which ones will play proper angles. And as we see again, nice Silver League fucking jump mechanics by me. It just gets to a point where, okay, this guy got a kill, 100% of the time he's going to try to flank through spawn, and if you know these players and you're patient, just watch that angle for 40 seconds or so, as you see me miss my 40th kill there, and I'm going to try to flash myself in. You can play these people this way, and fuck them thusly, by saying, okay, I'm just going to wait for him, and I know he's going to come. And if it's 2v2, I tell my teammate, hey, he's here, he's going to flank, play slow. Speaking of playing slow, I think this guy's mini. I'm like certain he's mini. And he's fucking garage corner. And he's going to light me up here. Because I'm just certain. Bang. That is unfortunate. That's pretty much like the ending of Kingpin. This is going to be the final round though. These guys don't really stand a chance at this point. But unfortunately that I could not put the cherry on top of the gameplay with the op shot. I noticed that almost always my right hand movement and aim with the op is extremely good actually, but when it comes down to missing shots, it almost always comes down to bad Call of Duty habits where I'm moving my character, I'm fucking with my left hand before I complete the shot. And here, sort of frustratingly trying to rush into A, and I get flanked. But we can see pretty much every op shot that I missed was missed because I moved or chili dipped it prematurely. Chili dipped to moved during an op shot and fuck it up. So final score 39, 3, and 13. 7 MVPs and a monstrous 90 score. I know it was my first commentary and it was not the best compared to my StarCraft commentaries, but I thought this was a cool game that was worth showing off, so enjoy, sub for more.